I count days adrift, the way my people always have, by the slow crawl of light across the lattice walls, the angle of a dying sun through the cracked dome above engineering. 40 days, by that reckoning, since the convoy ship Hearthlight lost her escort to debris that should have been swept clear a generation ago, and our distress chime began its small, patient pulse into the dark. I should explain what we are, because the listening posts of other species rarely bother to ask. We are Ilthari. Our bodies grow the way crystal grows, in lattices, in facets, slow accretion over decades, light passing through us, the way memory passes through a mind. We do not bleed, we crack. A wound, for us, is a fracture line, and it does not close cleanly. It only stops spreading, if you are fortunate, and you carry the scar of light bent wrong for the rest of your life. The Hearthlight herself was grown that way too, over 3 generations. Her hull lattice cultivated rather than built, which is why we could not simply abandon her when the escort died. You do not abandon a thing that took your grandparents' lifetimes to grow. 40 days is a long time to carry a wound and wait. We sent word to the Concord Assembly first, because protocol said we must, and because some small foolish part of us believed protocol meant something. The Assembly's reply came 11 days later, brief and bloodless. Our convoy held no trade rights, no defense treaty, no seat at any table that mattered. They were sorry. They said, unable to divert assets to a non-member hull. I logged the message and did not delete it. I wanted, later, to remember exactly how it had been worded, syllable for syllable, the particular cruelty of a sentence that managed to apologize and refuse in the same breath. After that, we sent the chime to anyone. Drifting freighters, old listening relays half buried in rock and silence, the kind that answer maybe once in a generation. We did not expect Earth to hear it, because Earth, as far as my archive recorded, had never signed a treaty with anyone we knew, had no obligation, had, by the Assembly's own bloodless logic, even less reason to come than the Assembly did. We kept transmitting anyway. There is a particular Ilthari stubbornness in that, I think. The habit of growing toward light even through cracked stone, because the alternative is to stop growing altogether. On the 40th day, the lattice wall above my workstation, which had been dark green gold with the dying light of our drift, went suddenly, unbearably white. I want to be honest about what that felt like, because the humans who came later asked me, gently, more than once, and I never gave them a true answer. It felt like being looked at by something enormous, not threatened, looked at, as if the universe itself had, after 40 days of refusing to notice us, finally turned its face. It was a ship. One ship, small, by the standards of anything I had read about in the Concord registries. A salvage and rescue cutter, blunt-nosed, scarred along one flank from work I would later learn was simply routine. It came in slow, without announcement, without the courtesies the Assembly's observers always insisted on before they would even agree to look at a hull. It matched our drift, found the breach where the escort had died, and extended a docking collar against the broken metal with the unhurried competence of someone closing a door they had closed 1,000 times before. The voice that came over our failing translator was flat, unbothered. Hearthlight, this is the cutter Callaway, out of the Thren relay station. We picked up your chime 11 hours ago, standing by to take on survivors and injured. We've got room for all of you. All of you, 312 of us, packed into a convoy hull built for 60, and this stranger said all of you, the way another might say good morning. I met the human captain, Reyes, she told me. Just Reyes. At the breach itself, where the cold dark of the wreck field still leaked starlight through the cracked dome, scattering off floating shards of our escort's hull like a field of slow-turning glass. She wore no ceremony, no decoration I could read as rank beyond a worn patch at her shoulder. She crouched first by an Ilthari child whose lower facets had fractured in the escort's destruction, and she did not flinch at the sight of cracked crystal weeping its slow internal light, and she did not ask the child to explain what she was. She asked instead, through the translator, whether the child could walk, and when the answer was no, she carried her. Simply carried her, down the collar and into the cutter's hold, the way you would carry anything fragile and worth the effort, her boots finding the unfamiliar angles of our deck without looking down once. I followed, archivist's habit overriding fear, recording everything, because someone among us should remember this honestly and not as legend. The Callaway was not built for 312 passengers. I understood this within the first hour, watching her crew, 5 of them, no more, strip cargo bays bare and reroute environmental systems with the calm of people doing arithmetic they had done before. An engineer named Okafor apologized to me, of all people, for the temperature in the aft hold running too warm for Ilthari comfort, and adjusted it without being asked twice, then spent the better part of an hour helping an elder of our clan line settle into a berth never designed for a body like hers, talking the entire time about nothing in particular, the way you talk to someone to keep their mind from the cold. "You came alone," I said to Reyes. Later, once the worst of the loading was done, and the ship groaned under weight she had not been built to carry, the assembly sent a fleet of opinions and not one hull. "You came alone." "Wasn't time to call for company," she said. "You'd been out here 40 days. We weren't going to make it 41. I have tried, since, to translate that sentence into the resonance language of my own people, the register we reserve for grief too large for ordinary words, and I cannot do it justice. We have phrasing for a debt repaid, and other phrasing entirely for a kindness that was never owed in the first place, and was given anyway. Reyes's sentence belonged to the second register, and I do not think we have enough words for it yet. Perhaps, now, we will grow some. She did not ask what we could offer in return. She did not mention the assembly's refusal, though I learned later she had read the same log I had, relayed to her by the station that first caught our chime. She filed her report, I was told, in plain administrative language. Vessel in distress, survivors recovered, no casualties among rescued personnel, as though pulling 312 strangers out of a dead convoy in a wreck field no one else would enter, was simply the next item on a duty roster, no different from a routine tow or a beacon repair. When the Callaway finally broke clear of the wreck field, sunlight came through her narrow ports in full for the first time in 40 days, and it struck the lattice of my own hands and scattered into more colors than I had names for. I stood at the viewport beside the small Ilthari child, healing now, watching the broken hull of the hearthlight recede into the dark behind us, lit from outside by a sun none of us had thought we would live to see directly again. Somewhere behind me, Okafor was laughing quietly at something the elder had said, and the sound of it, easy, unhurried, entirely without ceremony, felt like the truest proof yet that we had actually been saved, more than the rescue itself had. I never gave Reyes a true answer to what the white light had felt like, the moment our wall went from dying green gold to unbearable white. But before the transfer station took us in, and the formal accounting began, I found her alone on the narrow deck, watching the same recurring stars I was, and I gave her instead the oldest phrase my people carry, not translated, not run through any device, only spoken plainly into the air between us. The resonance pitched low, the way it drops only for the truest debts. She did not understand the words. I watched her face and knew that much. But she understood, I think, the shape of what I meant, because she only nodded once, the way a person nods at something they have decided not to make smaller by answering it aloud. I have logged that exchange nowhere official. Some things are not for the archive, they are only for the keeping.